Thank you. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the county's website in the near future. Since our last meeting, we did not have any executive sessions that I can recall. Commissioner Morrison and I, however, were in the same room at the EOC dinner on the 18th, and all three of us met with Commissioner Jonathan Marks of the Department of State yesterday. Did I miss anything?
Commissioner Eggleston and I met with Karen Beardsley. I believe we met for another meeting as well, but I can't remember what it was at this point.
It was for Karen's going away.
Yeah, but there was some other meeting that Jeff and I both attended, but I can't recall without looking at my calendar.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. None of those were technical executive sessions,
No.
so it's fine. Correspondence, I don't have any. Do either of you?
No.
Very good. I'd like to open the public hearing for the CDBG Allocations 2018. And to do that, I would like to call upon Lori Dunlap.
Thank you very much. We have a huge crowd here interested in CDBG today. The county is going to receive $240,207 in CDBG allocations for fiscal year 2018. That's up 30,000 or so from last year, which is encouraging when every year they threaten to cancel the program. We had several project submissions, and what was selected for this year's allocation were a couple of streets in Clarendon Borough, Miley Avenue, which kind of swings up off of Main Street. Never been paved, $76,368, for which the borough will match with engineering fees about $10,000, I believe, for that project. And also in Clarendon Borough, Ellison Street, which comes off of Main, and that will be $89,791, a little bit bigger street, and the borough will also pay for engineering on that. Even though they didn't ask for it, the RDA, they didn't officially ask for it, going to allocate $30,811 towards the RDA for the removal of funds like on a I'll be done in a second. Spot basis, and then $43,237 for program administration. Are there any questions about these projects, old projects? Yes, Mr. Scully?
Didn't your ad in the paper say that the ADA was going to get $40,000?
ADA.
Redevelopment Authority.
Oh, RDA.
RDA, what did I say?
Is that handicap accessibility? Yeah, I hope not. See if I have a...
I have a copy at home, but I don't have it here with
Sorry,
me.
what was your question? We do have it.
Joe asked me if we were giving $40,000 to the RDA.
30,811 was what was advertised.
I don't think there was a table.
Okay.
Yeah.
That just rings a bell to me. I mean, they'll
wishful
take the
thinking.
38,000.
So this money probably won't be available until next spring, summer, at some point.
Yes.
You guys are getting very scared.
I no longer sit on that board. I'm not allowed to.
I'm aware. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Commissioners? Somebody? Thank you. I will ask you to approve a resolution in the meeting authorizing the submission of this application to CCED, which will be November 2nd.
I just wanted to thank you, Lori Dunlop, for your work on this, as you're the main driver of kind of soliciting and finding.
Maybe next year you want to work with me a little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah, to drive it a little bit more. Absolutely.
I'd be happy to share all the regulations with you. You can get great ideas, and then they go. Oh. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Dunlap? I'd ask for a motion to close the public hearing then.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Lori. On the agenda today, we have Resolution 3114 for the CDBG allocations. You are, well, We're not there yet.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to do it now.
MOU with the Transit Authority, settlement agreement, appointments to the Human Services Summit Committee, and the E&M Sidewalk project, as well as a few proclamations. If there's anything not listed that the public would like to discuss with the commissioners at this point, feel free to raise it now. Mr. Scully.
If you're talking about the sidewalk around the courthouse,
We will be talking about that on the agenda today.
I still say you should seriously look into the handicap entrances to your sidewalk, because if you travel throughout the city, they may even make you put a rubber mat in the center so that handicapped people don't slip going down the slope or coming up. I think you better look into seeing if you have to have that handicapped walks, the entrance at all entrances, even though you only have a central one entrance location.
Well, we appreciate your thoughts, and we will discuss it at that point in the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Very good. Did the agenda meet with your approval? Missing anything? Did the minutes meet with your approval?
Yes.
Fiscal report.
You have the fiscal report in front of you. We finally got our tax receipts in, so as I emailed last week, we'll be able to pay off the TAM Friday. Last week, I sent an email with a payoff amount. But after that money's taken out, that leaves us with about 3.7 in the general fund of today, and roughly the 200 in the Erie bank account still. And you see the health care is a little lower than on average, and I've already started the process for the 2019 TAM process. I've started that as well.
Good.
You already put that out in the paper, right?
It's going in on
Or going in Friday, yeah. So we're in the process for that. That's all I have.
I didn't get a copy of that, so if at some point you could get that copy for me.
I didn't either.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I have my copy.
Well, that's, if you could.
Yeah, no, I will.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, we have three proclamations. We have three proclamations on the agenda. First is National Alzheimer's, second is Veterans Day, and third is Grief Awareness. As my grandfather died last night, and he was a veteran of Alzheimer's, I don't really want to read any of those. So, Commissioner Morrison, would you please read the Alzheimer's awareness?
I will. And Ben, I too had a grandfather that died of that disease. Proclamation, National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, November 2018. Whereas the Greater Pennsylvania chapter of the Alzheimer's Association is observing November as National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month to raise awareness of this relentless disease for which there is no cure. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the U.S., with over 5 million Americans living with the disease. It is estimated that 1 of every 3 persons will develop the disease, resulting in an estimated 16 million cases by 2050. And whereas 15.9 million caregivers are contributing over 18.1 billion hours of unpaid care, with many of these being unpaid family members who are continuing to care for their own families and working full-time jobs. And whereas this chapter works to bring about awareness, education, and support to those in Warren County afflicted by the disease, their families, and caregivers through lecture programs, family support groups, and referrals to related services. And whereas this chapter is working to accelerate medical research and to provide proper diagnoses, care, and support for those affected by this disease to eliminate Alzheimer's disease. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners of Warren County, in recognition of this important cause, proclaim November 2018 as National Alzheimer's Awareness Month in Warren County. I'd just like to say I'm sorry for the death of your grandfather,
Thank you.
I understand the pain that your family has gone through. It is an insidious disease.
Thank you. Commissioner Eggleston, would you read the Veterans Day proclamation?
Whereas each year on November 11th we pause to remember the men and women who throughout history served bravely and selflessly in America's armed forces, preserving our strength and security as a nation. These individuals sacrificed a great deal for the cherished causes of freedom and democracy, and as veterans they deserve and will always have the respect and appreciation of our citizens. And on Veterans Day we publicly commemorate the honorable legacy and sacrifices of our veterans, those lost to humankind and those who thankfully are with us today. Americans and the people of many nations live in freedom because of the contributions and sacrifices made by our men and women in uniform who served in various branches of the military during times of peril and national crisis. And America has been blessed with an abundance of such men and women throughout its history. They proudly and bravely battled tyranny and oppression in World Wars I and II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East. Today, our men and women in uniform are at war again, battling terrorists and standing vigilant against a brutal and ruthless enemy that massacres innocent people out of blindness to all that is good and just in the world, and out of a desire to destroy our enviable way of life. On this Veterans Day, we salute their courage and dedication to the defense of our democracy and the sovereignty of freedom-loving nations around the world, recognizing it as an extraordinary person who willingly steps into harm's way to protect others and defend freedom, our rightful and noble heritage that dates back 241 years ago to the Revolutionary War. And as honored and respected citizens, our veterans have learned the values of service, dedication, and discipline, and know the worth of life and liberty. America has found in our veterans the leadership, courage, and determination needed to overcome all forms of despicable threats to our nation and its people. And we owe our veterans a debt of gratitude which can never be fully repaid. On this day set aside in their honor, we take the opportunity to pay tribute to our military veterans for all they have done and continue to do, to make the world a better and safer place for new generations of Americans who will continue to reap the benefits of such a proud legacy of selfless service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Warren County Commissioners hereby proclaim November 11th, 2018 as Veterans Day in Warren County, Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Any comments?
I would just like to thank all the Warren County veterans and the veterans all across our nation, and most specifically the one that's sitting here in our this courtroom here with us today, Edgar Burris. Thank you for being our Veterans Affairs Director. We appreciate your service. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that Mr. Scully is also a veteran.
I was unaware. Sorry. Thank you for your service, Joe.
Well,
Commissioner Eggleston, anything?
That says it all.
Okay. Commissioner Morrison, would you please read the Grief Awareness Month proclamation?
Whereas November is National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, therefore the Shoreman Center, a place for healing and loss, and outreach of hospice of Warren County acknowledges the importance of grief awareness. And whereas the Shoreman Center, an outreach of hospice of Warren County, acknowledges the 2 million deaths in the U.S. each year, which impacts approximately 20 million people. And whereas, because grieving is a natural and normal response to death and other losses, all persons are urged to be sensitive and supportive of their families, neighbors, friends, colleagues who are adjusting to a significant loss in their lives. And whereas time set aside for grief awareness will heighten awareness of our human mortality and address our common need for mourning and healing, and will promote spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional health. And whereas the Shoreman Center, an outreach of hospice of Warren County, therefore encourages businesses, schools, faith communities, healthcare organizations, civic groups, and neighbors to join them in observing this special time of grief awareness, of every person's right to grieve in the face of death and loss. And whereas the purpose of grief awareness is to help the community realize that grief is not an event, but a process. Too often in our society, it is believed that after the first few weeks, life continues as before the death of the loved one. Now therefore be it resolved that Warren County, along with the Shorman Center and Outreach of Hospice of Warren County, encourages everyone to join us in observing the month of November as Grief Awareness Month, in recognition of every person's right to grieve in the face of death and loss. Adopted this 24th day of October by the Warren County Commissioners.
Thank you. Any commissioner comments? Ms. Hanna.
I would like to thank Bonnie Radecki, who is here today as a representative from Hospice, and also Lisa Toe, the Executive Director. I've had the pleasure of visiting the Hospice House earlier this week and some of the other locations. And Hospice of Warren County is a really special organization that does a really phenomenal job, in my opinion. And I think just as a part of this, to thank them for the work that they do. I've had family members that have been involved with their organization, and it's so comforting to have them as a part of the whole process. So thank you to them, and thank you for coming here today to represent them.
Well, thank you for doing this proclamation. Allow me to extend my deepest sympathy for your loss.
Thank you.
It's a hard day to do all of this with that in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Mr. Scully.
Mr. Kaplan, I'd like to extend my sympathy for the people of Lake Township. And I also want to personally, I've been through this with a brother that wasn't that old. And I know the toughness that you had in situations where you just don't know what to do and don't understand why that individual loved one of yours is attacked by this disease. So yes, I do know what you're going through, and I extend my personal thank you for putting up with it, because I'm sure along the line you were wondering, just like I did, why me? It's a sad situation, but I congratulate you on your efforts.
Thank you. Mr. Burris.
Just wanted to make everybody aware that on Veterans Day, the Eagles Club will be doing a dinner for all veterans and their families. It's free of charge. The tickets are available in our office. And I gave you my condolences in the office, but I want to give you my condolences again.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes, the fiscal report, and the proclamations that were read.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's take a quick picture. Is that where you want us, ma'am?
Yes, we don't. I enjoyed serving. I would do it again. Some places I went.
Okay.
David, I'm Seymour.
We do the
Try and smile for such a proclamation.
Can we do another one, please? Just real
I'll mail
quick.
that to her. I gotta sign it and seal it. Oh, you want one more?
Yeah, just one more.
Can you just send it to
I
her?
was gonna say, I can send you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Absolutely.
It's always good to see you.
Take care. Thank you.
Never use that.
I have. With his.
Yeah.
All right, next on the agenda, there's no old business, so we'll move on to the resolution 3114 to allocate the CDBG funds that we just discussed, Lori Dunlap. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
I'll make a motion, or I'll second the motion. Sorry.
Very good. Any other discussion?
But just, you had said 2,000, it's 3,000.
I apologize. Thank you.
Just wanted to clarify.
Any public comment? All those in favor of approving Resolution 3114, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is an MOU with the Transit Authority. I mentioned this at the last work session. This is an agreement that specifies reimbursement from the county to the Transit Authority should we need them under emergency management in order to do like a mass exodus or something like that. The rates are $40 per bus per hour of dry time or $20 per bus per hour of wait time. Any discussion? Excuse me, could I have a motion to approve the
So
MOU?
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Settlement agreement. There's a settlement agreement before you that is not anything interesting, I don't think, to the newspaper. It is has a confidentiality clause in it, so if we wish to discuss it, we'll need a motion to move into executive session.
Can we have a general, I mean, we can generally discuss it, right?
Ask the solicitor, I don't believe so.
So basically, from the solicitor's perspective, it's not bad to just generally state the nature of the agreement, which is essentially there was a breach, technical breach with the AVANCO system, which is utilized by children and youth and others, and basically we are receiving what would be, there was a lawsuit against AVANCO put forth by CCAP and, what was the other one? CCAP and what was the other one? And P Corp. And basically what we're being paid is fees related to the work that the solicitor did and others did on behalf of the county in trying to rectify that situation. And the sum's like $6,000, so it's not a major issue. It's just to be clear that as a part of the agreement, there's a confidentiality element as far as not discussing the details of the agreement itself.
Thank you. Could I please have a motion to approve the settlement agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, appointments to the Human Services Summit Committee. I don't see that in my packet.
Inside your book.
Commissioner Eggleston, this is your project. Would you please make the request?
So basically there are 5 people. There will be more. These are the first 5 that I would like to request to be appointed to the Human Services Summit Committee. Tina Carey, the Executive Director of Deerfield Behavioral Health of Warren, Dr. John, Medical Director, Beacon Light, Julie Lackey, Mental Health Program Specialist for Forest Warren Human Services, Carrie Salopek, Outpatient Clinic Director, Beacon Light, Adam McNeil, Executive Director, Forest Warren Mental Wellness Association. The committee requires a minimum of 7. We will probably end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of between 15 and 20 on the committee. So this is the first 5 of that bunch.
I'll take that as a motion. Do I hear a second?
No.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor of appointing the 5 people Commissioner Eggleston specified, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner Eggleston, you also have spearheaded the M Sidewalk project. Could you please describe that?
So this is for to essentially approve a proposal from E&M Engineers with a cost estimate on the overall project. Although their costs to a large degree are fixed as far as the engineering goes, I firmly believe that this project is the construction is actually going to cost much less than what's stated here. So the total for the project, including the engineering, will be $92,392. We currently have grants from P Corp and P Comp of $71,000. So there's a potential county match of $21,392. My assumption is if we can get the construction costs even more dramatically reduced, that we can probably eliminate the county match altogether. That said, as Supervisor Scully has stated, The reason this cost, there are costs attributed to this are basically two things. One is what he is referring to as far as like ADA compliance and a lot of different design elements related to a public structure. The second is that we are wrapping the sidewalk around the building. Therefore, there are spots that are currently, there are steps and other things that needed to be filled in. There's going to be slopes and changes in the sidewalk over that stretch. The city and others will require there to be an engineer working on the project in order to make sure that all of the various codes are applied. So it's more than just a sidewalk project. There has to be some engineering done. That's it. And like I said, the bulk of it is being paid for through a grant. My assumption is that we can get this to a point where all of it will be paid by grant.
Would you make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the A&M engineers and surveyors proposal.
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Further discussion? Commissioner Morrison?
In regard to Mr. Scully's suggestions in regard to the handicap accessibility, is that included in this sidewalk proposal?
Yes. Naturally, when we were discussing this with them, ADA compliance was one of the top things that we discussed as a part of this. So certainly they're going to have to work with the Code Enforcement Department and others to make sure that all of those are taken care of. That's part of the reason it costs as much as it does.
What portion of the project do you think that could be whittled down to eliminate the $21,000 match?
The big items are the concrete estimate, which I think is excessive. To my knowledge, a yard of concrete is somewhere in the neighborhood of $90, maybe $100 at most. I don't think that sidewalk is more than 100 yards long, so might be 150 maybe. But so that, you add that up to about 10 grand. They're estimating 40. They're estimating that the 12 grand is going to be just in the window repairs, which is basically filling the windows in with concrete. I have a hard time believing that the construction cost on that is going to be $12,000. I just, now granted I've worked on those types of jobs in the past, so maybe that's my perspective on it. I think that they're estimating at a very high level, so I think that we'll work with them in order to whittle that down. I think that the overall concrete we could get from 40 down to 20 probably, and we could get the 12 down to 6. I think we could cut that in half easily. So that's
I do have a question in regard to the invoices that are attached to this proposal, and it looks as though they're referencing invoices that I don't see, but maybe I'm overlooking them. Oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah, this should be in the packet.
Okay, I guess my question is, on the one, it says parking lot rehabilitation.
Yeah, so as a part of my work with the engineering firm, there was an error on my part where we had several meetings where we discussed both the parking lot and the sidewalk, and I was under the impression that would fall under the feasibility study that we had approved earlier in this year. They did not, and so they billed us for that time as a part of both the sidewalk and the parking lot renovation. So basically I am lumping those bills in with this agreement just to have an official vote on finalizing the sidewalk and then having work done as a part of the evaluation of the parking lot.
And those fees amount to about $20-some thousand, correct?
They're about 11.
Then what's the 67 plus 24? What's the 24,722?
The 24,722 is the total engineering cost for everything. So the 11,422 is what they've worked on to date as far as getting the sidewalk set up in the parking lot. They'd have an additional $9,500 in order to finish the sidewalk, and then R.W. Larson will have $3,800. So that's how you come up with the $24,000.
Okay, and I do note that in this proposal it does say it does not include the design of any heated sidewalks. So we're not paying for heated sidewalks, correct?
Yeah, this is not a heated sidewalk, and I'm proposing that just because after looking at the cost of heating the sidewalk for what we would get out of it, I felt like it was too expensive.
So say we come back and it's 21,392 that the county matches.
Mhm.
Where are we reaching into what account to pay for that?
That would be a maintenance, that would be part of our maintenance budget.
Do we have that currently budgeted?
It would not be maintenance, it would be
The capital.
capital.
Or capital, I mean, either way. We haven't finalized the budget yet, so my assumption is that this amount would go into that. Yeah, so the idea is this will be done next year in the spring.
So this is for 2019, it's not
Yes.
for 2018?
Yes.
And the reason you're doing this in 2018 is to secure the grants?
To both secure the grants and then also line up a vendor in the spring. Like people are currently soliciting projects. We want to get a good contractor. Most of them are already probably even now lined up for jobs in the spring. So that's why I'm requesting it at this point, is to because I want to get moving on getting the bid documents done and put out so that we can lock somebody down for as soon as the weather clears.
In regard to the energy assistance program that we've entered into an agreement with, is it possible that any of the savings we would incur and could be used to offset this $21,000?
Absolutely. I think that what we would do is sit down once we have a top line number of what they can offer. We will then prioritize projects, and this could easily be added to that, I think.
I believe they are adding that to their list of things to review.
They are.
Yeah. Both this and the parking lot project, I believe they're evaluating as a part of the overall.
And there's no way to just adjust signage to the front of the building that would direct people parking to walk around on the Market Street sidewalk?
Well, I think that the issue that I have just generally is that we have is basically two things. Number one is that people, even to this day, do not know that there's a single point of entry at this building, and so you have people that are infirm, that have health issues, that are walking with canes, walking with walkers, and especially during the winter, that parking lot, in my opinion, there are concerns as far as slipping, falling, cars coming through, not seeing people. So my point is I can imagine in 5 years from now people still parking on this side of the building, walking to the front of the building, and then walking all the way around to the back.
Right, that's my point with
Yeah.
signage. It would be helpful to have signs directing them.
We still also need signs.
Yes, we obviously have had conversations about and have quotes and proposals from several sign vendors. We've held off on ordering and installing signs basically to wait to see how this shakes out, and the parking lot as well, because both of those would affect the signage, like on the property, or could potentially affect the signage. So
I think Matt actually had put up some temporary signs.
Yeah.
And I can speak since it's right outside my window, and people blow right by the signs.
Yeah.
And they still walk down to the front, turn around, and come back, even though the sign was there.
Yeah, and so the goal is going to be to get this done, and then through the winter get the sign situation figured out. So when this is done, then have the signs installed. I think we even talked about utilizing Act 13 funds to do that. Because we're going to get, we wanted some nice artisanal signs similar to what Elk County currently has.
So if we don't approve this today, we lose this funding?
It would be reallocated.
I'd have to request
Reallocated to the state?
through P Corp and P Comp. I'd have to go and ask them if we can either reallocate it or
We'd lose it.
we lose it.
Okay.
It's for we started the process in 2018, so.
Okay.
I still can't think of a project that would use that amount of money for safety and security. Our most of our slips and falls, injuries, etc., are related to the parking lot and the attached sidewalks. So
And that's what the grants are all.
yeah.
Yes, P Corp and P Comp
It was
speaks for
relative to
itself.
sidewalks and working on that portion.
Okay.
Further
Thank you. You've answered my question.
Further discussion? Any public comment? Very good. Motion was made and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The last thing on the agenda would be our regular personnel transaction report. No new hires or changes listed on this report. Separation since the last meeting. Christina Finch from DUI on 9/17. Connie Zaffino from Human Services, Children and Youth on the 1st of November. And November 2nd, Karen Beardsley, Chief Assessor. Any questions? Do I hear a motion to ratify the personnel transaction report?
Make a motion to ratify the personnel transaction report.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
I will
Opposed?
abstain without comment.
For the record, Commissioners Eggleston and Cafferlin in favor, and one abstention from Commissioner Morrison. Any other comments from the Commissioners? Then I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.